right, this is Rita Carr, Chair of the Nantucket Historical Commission, calling our September 19th, 2025 meeting to order at 10 a.m. This meeting is being video and audio recorded. And in person, we have Abby DeMolina here, Barbara Halstead, Angus DeCloud, Betsy Tyler, Sarah McLean, and George Butterworth.
Here.
As well as Holly Backus, Preservation Planner.
Good morning.
Great, so there's no members of the well, Holly, do you have any public comment?
Nope.
Okay. That brings us to staff update.
Yes, so it's been a busy couple of weeks. Just want to mention that our CPC applications along with our joint survey work with PIN has been submitted at the deadline last week. So that's been done, and then our annual required CLG report between the two commissions have been formally submitted to the state. They give me till the end of September, but that's been submitted as well. For anybody who wanted to know, the HDC did 2,100 COAs in the last fiscal year. That's received.
Right.
They're in different various stages, but yeah, that's a lot, and that's everything.
So those are the COAs issued, but the number of applications reviewed exceeds that.
No, that is the actual received applications within the fiscal year. They're in various stages, whether or not they were withdrawn or approved or,
That's a lot.
denied. It is a lot.
Who's
Absolutely.
the next biggest?
I don't know. I do not know, but we are the biggest. Just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, great. Okay, and I know, so for the CPC, I think they had the most applications they've had in a while.
Yeah, I
right?
saw the chair yesterday coincidentally, and she told me there was about 20 applications that they received, and a lot of them for historic preservation.
Right.
And on that note, that is one thing that I've emphasized in our CLG report, that Nantucket was one of the earliest communities to follow CPA. So they, kind of notate that. And I also mentioned that is part of our survey planned process that we want to continue also utilizing CPC as a funding source as well.
Great. All right, that takes us to our historic resource surveys. So in the packet, I included the draft version of the RFQ that has that been posted, or is it going to be?
Not yet.
posted,
So
or
as
for
of
the Massachusetts Historical Commission funding that we get through
correct.
that is for certified local governments.
So as of this morning, I just received the towns, so just so you all know the functionality of it, we receive a contract with the state. Basically, the state saying, here's your money, pretty much, for the survey work. The municipality has to sign it, and then it gets back to so we've had to continue it. We just had that formally approved by select board and town manager. I just received it this morning from finance, and I literally just put it in the mail to the state.
Okay.
So once they receive it and they fully execute that contract on that side, then we can move forward with the RFQ update. And we do have, what we have in the packet is the changes to the scope of work. Really and truly, this was to, one, reduce the amount. They didn't reduce the amount substantially. It was only from 140 surveys down to 120. And then we also reduced the required what's it called? Qualifications, exactly. So trying to make it so if they're subject matter experts on Nantucket can do it, but they may not have been in Massachusetts and did 5 other places. And that's the big thing. These are all boilerplate. The state says, here you go. This is what you need to do. So because of the fact that we weren't able to get anybody that met those qualifications, they were allowing us to do that.
Good.
So
With this tailoring, is this going to allow, what you're saying is this will make island resources eligible for conducting these?
yes, provided there's no conflict of interest. So that's gonna be the biggest thing.
Do you foresee any?
It's possible. I don't know what
Okay.
her submits, but. This is dealing with the state. And they have to follow state and federal procurement laws, so. We'll see what happens, but
Sounds good.
yeah. we wanna be able to get this part going, and I, like I said, the state is wanting to be able, because this fiscal year is from 2023, believe it or not, this project. And so they allocated it to us. The National Park Service is the one who oversees the project from the Historic Preservation fund from Congress. They've given SHPOs the authority to expand and extend contracts. So that's the only reason why MHC is like, yep, let's continue, let's continue, let's continue. And they're, like I said, they're wanting to work with Nantucket. They love the fact that we're a CLG. So we'll see. We don't know what the next fiscal year is going to bring though at the federal level.
Yeah.
So we want to be able to continue this and as much as possible, but honestly, I do want to mention that the CPC is a really great source as well. And I think, in my opinion, a little easier to, from a procurement perspective. And then on the wind farm, you all know that through the Good Neighbor Agreement and all that, the town was able to apply for funding for historic preservation. And that was towards, so I requested $25,000. And that RFQ is out there in the ether right now. Hopefully I'll get something. That would be great. But this is to take the surveys that, one, are town-owned historic resources that we outlined within our survey plan that are scattered throughout the island. So they're not one geographic area, which is what typical, when architectural historians are doing an area for a survey plan, they're going to this area. Like we had the fish lots, that's why we had to segment the entire island in the plan. What, 59 neighborhoods, I think it is. So this allows us to be able to do that. They're scattered throughout the entire island. And it's not just structures, it's also monuments. So our Meridian stones, the Civil War monument, also the Founders Monument, I think would be also another one on there. So there's a whole bunch. And a lot of them have old MHC macro surveys, and some of them don't have any at all. So that's gonna do that. And then also there are, throughout our survey work, when we started into the Brant Point area, there are surveys that were done in the 88, 89 effort that doesn't make any sense. They're on structures that, I'm older than. No, so we need to do a continuation sheet because we want to outline that structure does not meet the period of significance qualification. Or there might be a structure that was moved from one location to another. Give you an example, we were looking at Easton Street. We know that whole area has been worked on for quite a while and it was very busy. Couldn't really have our consultants go throughout that area. So there are some in there, for instance, with White Elephant, with those structures that some of them have been moved over time to, I think the Nantucket Hotel took one years ago. So those, if you look at the GIS, you're gonna see those red triangles and they're associated with the original survey. We wanna be able to, identify, wait a minute, it moved over here, or wait a minute, it's no longer there, or, it was adapted. We know like the Auburn Cottage, for instance, was elevated. So those type of things, those are really kind of difficult to pinpoint within an actual survey project. So this is where this additional funding will help, and I would like to be able to continue applying for that funding as well. But again, procurement is a new kind of thing within our software anyways. That has kind of taken me some time to get that guidance that was needed. So, but I'll let you all know when I hear back.
Okay, great. I'm glad this is all moving forward.
Yes.
Anything else? So then that takes us to the section 106 review for 43 Sherburne Commons. So in the packet, you can see here we're invited to provide comment on this proposed new antenna that would be installed on the main building at Sherburne Commons, essentially.
Which is 40, not 43.
Oh, yeah. I guess we should let the people.
43.
Yeah, I mean, that's how they live.
The address is 40.
Interesting. Okay, but so you can see the proposed area of potential effect for this. It's, there are contributing parcels of conservation land, I believe, that are within there, but, as far as I know, not contributing structures. I don't know the year Sherburne Commons was constructed. Do you, Barbara?
About 20 years old.
Yeah. So, you can see in the photos and the line drawing, I mean, it's a pretty big antenna. Did anyone have any concerns?
I wanted to mention one thing
Mhm.
on these. So, in my previous planning life, I was reviewing cell towers throughout the rural area. And there is what they call a national pragmatic agreement that cell companies have under the National Historic Preservation Act. They have a pragmatic agreement that basically making sure that there's no potential effect to historic resources. So that's why they're supposed to show us the area of potential effects that they would have under section 106. But also when you're building with a cell tower, you have also areas of where a fall zone of a tower. So you don't want to hit a contributing structure as well. You also don't want it from a character and setting. You don't also want it to disturb those historic resources. On Nantucket, we know we don't have these actual towers, and usually they're within structures. Some of them are even historic themselves. And usually because of the pragmatic agreement, there's usually a straight approval. But state historic preservation offices get involved with that. So basically, they don't want to hinder getting a antenna up. If this was brand new, we'd be looking at it differently, but this is actually just a new antenna to an existing already, so we call it a co-location. If this wasn't,
yeah, I was gonna, can we zoom in? I'm with you, Angus, I was like, I can't even see it from.
That's good.
right,
Right,
this is
well,
exactly what-
let's hope that this is a realistic representation
And-
of how hard it will be.
and then this is just specifically for your review,
Looks like it's behind that.
so.
So I didn't really have any concerns. It didn't seem like it was changing the character setting or anything, and it's a new structure. And it looks like it's concealed in a cupola.
Well, it'll be on the outside though. Could you maybe scroll down to,
This part?
I think it's on the next page, though, the elevations. That part, yeah,
On the back
But-
elevation.
okay, so yeah, you'll be able to see it from the rear, but. And then
But does this mean we're gonna have better?
I think.
This
if
area,
you
I
have
believe, yeah.
AT&T.
I do have AT&T.
I can attest on two with this area. One, my grandmother-in-law lives at Sherburne Commons. And two, Briar Patch Pediatrics has their office there. I was just there yesterday with my children. And I can tell you the cell service there is horrible. So.
I
Please
say that, I
approve.
live there, so I can tell you, it's terrible, and in
Yes.
fact, some of the older residents just say there's no point in my getting the cell phone, it never works, so why should I bother?
Yeah. More than that.
I think,
A big plus then. I actually, so growing up, the town I grew up in, they wanted to put the highest point in our town was one of our churches, and they wanted to put a cell tower in it, and the church said no. And they did not put it there, but there was a big fight about it, but the church was historic and they did not go in. But I remember it being a big deal.
I mean, there's a lot
I
of,
don't say it's equal tension.
Yeah,
Isn't the
I
one
mean,
the Baptist
in-
church here?
yeah, there's
Yeah.
cell equipment in the First Congregational Church I think in the Summer Street Church, I think in a UU church too. Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah. I think the concern was that it would, the structure wasn't stable enough for them to do the work, and they decided they would rather protect the church than put the tower, and they put it somewhere else. I just remember it being like that was a big thing. Tried to do it, it didn't work.
Can we go back to the plan view? That's the only thing that, I mean, if it were all the same to everybody, is to put it on the 12 o'clock position instead of the 3 o'clock where it's shown.
oh, up here,
Yeah, just because the tower would be. I think it would sort of be obstructing the view of it more.
Well, I guess, do we know the reason why they chose the location?
Yeah, I wonder if it has to do with putting it opposite the existing antenna? Maybe for like weight concerns or, you know, like having.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. 'cause
And
it's
it-
literally.
In addition, they'll be putting the proposed equipment on the roof, on that flat surface up here. Which is typical, there's usually some sort of equipment associated with it.
Mhm.
But we can, if that is a concern, Angus, to relocate it, we can at least mention that in
It's
comments.
minor, but I think that it would probably help as you approach the.
But would it
Maybe
make it
a
less
bit.
attractive if you're in the back garden looking up at that little? I mean, it's one half dozen. little-
Right.
Right.
Well, maybe what we could do, then to Angus's point, is at least have an understanding of why they chose that location, and if there is some sort of practical reason, they're talking about weight and to Sarah's point, and if they say, well, you know, you'll see it no matter what, at least we can get some confirmation.
But as far as the proposal to its effective, to its potential effective historic resources, there really isn't any. We can just
Mhm.
mention that there are conservation areas.
Yeah, that are contributing. But
Yep.
but I'm not sure if you could even see this from
I mean,
there.
it's not tall enough to fall on any of those
Yeah,
areas
yeah.
and just disturb vegetation. So,
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
Short of it being ripped off the side of the building and flying through the air and landing, I
Yeah,
don't see that happening.
yeah, for sure. Great, so. In just, we can figure, you know, maybe get back to, the consultants who sent to EBI
Yes,
and just with question about the location.
yes. So
No,
no,
other than that, no concerns.
right,
Well, it may be the address. I don't know why they're calling it 43.
I think it might be because the parcel itself might be 43, but I know Sherburne is 40. That might be the reason. But yeah, I can inquire on it.
Yeah, I think either way, just have them confirm.
So, Madam Chair, if it's okay with you, knowing that they want response. With comments within 30 days, they did send this on August 22nd, and I
Mhm.
wanted you all to obviously opine on it. I will send, or email and copy you and just say, hey, they met, these are their questions, but no real big concerns.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. So, next on the agenda, we had, the Civil War monument repair, which following our last meeting and also our prior meeting in July, we talked about, sending a list of concerns to Drew Patnode at the DPW, which I did, and then these were Drew's responses. Which, for the record, I did back in March, I suggested Jablonski Building Conservation as a potential, you know, consultant that could source historic granite that would match the original. They were also one of the 3 conservation firms recommended by Michael Harrison. Along with Building Conservation Associates, Inc. and Integrated Conservation Resources. ICC. So. That's in response to Drew's question.
Very smart.
Yeah.
Well, but are we supposed to respond? Like, would you respond and say like, well, actually, these are the firms that told us they could source it. If you'd love to know where you found it and just like list them and be like, these are the people. It's like, here you go.
Yeah, so I replied in an email to this, I sent the questions to Holly emailed Drew, then Holly forwarded me Drew's reply. So I did also, I let Holly know that, and I think you probably let Drew know that.
Which part of it, sorry?
The, you know, like this list of people who could,
So,
who could have the historic.
Yes.
Senate. Yeah, okay,
Yes.
so you, yeah, sent him my.
Yes, cause that was the.
And then
first
I also
saw.
answered his question of what is stone dressing? The way a stone is dressed is, it just means the way it's cut and finished, and so the look essentially of the finished stone.
I did mention to Drew to, you know, that you all would be discussing this today again. He wasn't too sure if he was gonna be able to make it, so,
Mhm.
in his defense, he's probably got all sorts of different things going
No,
on,
no,
but,
sure.
I think. There were some answers that he had that it would be nice to know more about, like, I think the biggest thing that we could hold our hat on is the fact that. We, the town, have not signed off on the completion of the
Yeah.
work.
I was glad to.
I
see
think
that.
that's big, but I also didn't want to, I know we're kind of frustrated about how it went. And, both from us, my name's kind of been thrown, I kind of, in ways. I did talk to these people, but at the same time, because this is a insurance claim. It was the insurance company said, hey, Ms. Backus, as town's preservation planner, you want to speak to the people that we're hiring to do the work, here they are. It wasn't like I got to choose or say, hey, they're good or they're not good.
Yeah.
Like, it was just an opportunity, and I didn't get to see a scope. I spoke to the gentleman on the phone. Sounds like he's been doing this kind of work. He also is chair of Plymouth County's Cemetery Commission, which I thought was pretty impressive. Plymouth has one of the most oldest in New England. But maybe there were some things, maybe it wasn't him specifically that came to do the work. I don't know. But I do think that, the points that you all made were legit, and it would be nice to know, do we, as a town, have the capability to find other people, or does the insurance company that handles everything, they get to pick, you know what I mean? There's things that I think that we're not privy to, that it's really hard to really justify and figure all that out. But I think the cosmetic aspect of the shrubs, those obviously need to be replaced. We want the granite pieces back. I was under the impression that we were going to receive those, so that way, in case that there's anything done. But maybe moving
I'm like,
forward.
why did they even leave the island in the first place?
well, yeah, why
Like,
would they
I don't
take
know.
them?
I think I don't know, I don't wanna speculate, like, the historic granite is valuable.
It
and we should-
absolutely is.
Oh, so you
What are
think
the
they-
odds we'll ever see them again?
Well, they're probably like, we can use them in a different project. Oh, well, I don't understand the statement of the curbing being level and minimal, like, go look at it, like,
Yeah,
it's not minimal, like, the difference
There is a
is
difference.
noticeable. Every time I drive by, I'm always like, this looks ridiculous.
And
And
that's the problem.
Yeah.
It
looks ridiculous.
it does look ridiculous, it
Yeah.
looks, and I think it's something, like Nantucket prides itself on being this well-preserved historic town. And it looks bad, and I think that it's one of the few, like, major monuments in the town, like, I think the town, like, has a responsibility to make sure that it's repaired properly with stone that matches, or, even if it's not the actual same historic Quincy granite, they could have found something that is a closer match.
Well, they could do things to
know?
like age the patent, like make it cleaner, like there
Yeah,
are things they
and-
could have
and-
done.
I mean, and maybe cleaning the old stone, getting in there with some
Power,
D2
or power washing, whatever.
would help make, because it is the
On,
monument itself and the other, existing curbs and, fence art, they're pretty dirty but still, it's not just that it's like, the composition of the granite is different, like the original, the historic pieces have like a darker, speckle to them, whereas the replacement stone that was used is just a much lighter, more homogeneous look,
They look like Lego blocks.
yeah, so.
I think the big question is, from the standpoint of the town. So
Mhm.
obviously, they're the ones that hold the insurance policy. Whatever it says in there, it probably dictates how a claim can be handled
Mhm.
and what the town has the ability to question or not. And so, that would maybe be the first question. And then I think the next step would be going to the town and saying, we want to avoid this from happening in the
Exactly,
future.
right, and like that's a
Because,
bigger issue.
At this point, from what this looks like, probably not much is gonna change. Maybe some cosmetic things, but too far, too much has been done. And unless the town is willing to step up with a big check to remedy this, the insurance company is gonna say, hey, we did what we were supposed to do on our end and we're done. There's nothing that says it has to be replaced like kind,
Mhm.
that sort of thing. And those are the fine little details of the wording in those policies.
approved.
And,
Yeah.
maybe that's a rider that should be part of the policy where there are specialty items that are historic and of very specific value, like an
Mhm.
umbrella policy, specifically for those things. And then there are certain requirements, like, okay, you have to have a point person that reviews this beforehand, like all of those things.
Mhm.
So I think what this does is it sparks that conversation with the town so that it doesn't happen the next time, if something will happen again.
For sure. This is. yeah.
But in terms of the stone and the granite, having just put antique granite in, it's very hard to source. It's very hard to get things that are the same light color, anything else, the cleft stone, they can do it by hand. The color is definitely not gonna be the same. My guess is you will never see the same pieces back here again. I mean, they've now been gone for how many months?
Since May.
Right, so, they're in a stone yard. Maybe
They're
somebody else-
hoping to pick them up
In a couple weeks.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah, I think those are all really good points as far as moving forward with the town policy and insurance. And no matter who does it, there should be a level of the best practice that should be followed. And a certain amount of oversight from a qualified, whether it's the preservation planner or historical commission or somebody to be
Right.
overseeing that in the future. It made me feel better that it wasn't signed off on, but if the one reason for it not being signed off on is the return of the pieces and nothing to do with the correction of what's been done, that makes me really nervous. And of course, the stone leaving the island. That makes me anxious.
Well, I guess, when they replaced the fountain, I mean, we have that as an example. And I don't think we had the same level of issues with it. They went and found a
Yeah, it was the same
special,
insurance company that,
Right.
that hired, the, folks who they did the repair when it was hit in 2020. And then in 23,
yeah.
or 24, but,
I think the big thing is the stone.
yeah.
It's very difficult to pick slabs or pick stone that's similar, especially if the quarry doesn't exist anymore, and then to try and source it, and it's gotta be the right length. And they're big pieces and, they're looking from this perspective, okay, the insurance company wants something that's quick. That's probably the least amount of money that kind of gets the job done, and
Mhm.
they aren't used to having a board or people that are on top of them going. That doesn't look right, or this isn't what we like, and insurance companies, their job is to pay as little as possible to get, this signed off on. So this to me reads, oh. We're good with everything that was done, we're just waiting for the stone back. Like,
Mhm.
he doesn't have any questions. The fact that he thinks it's level and yes, power washing the whole thing could be beneficial, but power washing the stone. Is not great for the stone.
No,
either.
I would not want
Um,
it power washing.
yeah.
Yeah, D2 is, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so.
biologic cleaner, not.
You could get out there with some yogurt and age the current stone and, that would help a lot. They could chip it off a little bit and, cleft it a little bit like that. I mean, there are things that they could have done to age it a little bit. But, I'm not surprised that this is how they dealt with it. It's pretty standard.
And the thing that remains a puzzle to me is that one post was broken, they replaced 3. And I looked at them, as far as I could tell. The other 2 they removed look fine.
Yeah, well,
They
and
were
I
just-
guess
it
that
was
would
just
be
pulling
the
up
question
screws.
of why we'd like to see the pieces back, cause are they really damaged?
Actually,
Mhm.
all of the posts have been hit over time. If you look
Yeah,
at the ones that are still standing.
They all have nicks
pieces.
out.
Yeah.
But in terms of major damage, the main thing was that it may have affected how the screws went into the post because it was pulled on, but
Mhm.
you could address that without replacing the stone.
And, you know, we know, I mean, it's gonna be hit again, hopefully. Not in like the catastrophic way it was, in January, but it would be good to have that stone for, you know, future repairs or, yeah.
And I
So.
think, as we saw with Consui,
Mhm.
things like that are gonna continue to happen more frequently. There's just too many cars, too many people late at night, don't know the area.
Yeah.
And, you know, we have these historic structures or monuments in places that people aren't normally, they just don't know.
Yeah.
And so I think that you're right, we need to have the fabric here on this island to use it for the next time.
Yeah, I'm curious about what that stone actually looked like because that stone was only about 20 years old, the one that got broken. Because it was only about 20 years ago, the son came gunning out Gardner. And
Yeah.
snapped the exact same
Yes.
post.
And on that note, Diane Holgate, who sat with the historical commission before, sent me an email with information on that particular, and I forwarded on to Drew, so he had that information from where it came from before. But again, back to the
Yeah.
policy, we don't know those nitpicky details within it, and were they able to go and pick somebody else, or was it, nope, this is who you're working with? And to be honest with you, that's how it was sent to me. This is who they've picked, this is who is moving forward, so. I don't know what the answer would be to be able to insist on having, more of a hands-on approach to somebody to do the work. I do think to the point of, being proactive next time around, having this list of people, but can we do that within the policy? And that's where my brain is going. But I was also thinking about, we have a cemetery commission, a cemetery commission who has hired subject matter experts, archaeologists, to look at all the town-owned historic cemeteries and the condition of the monuments, and they come down to take a look at that. Maybe that's something that we look into from a CLG perspective. I know there's been funding for CLGs for that kind of thing. Maybe we can take them out of the cemetery aspect and say, wait a minute, we also have town-owned historic resource outside of the cemetery that we would like your, you know, your take on, and maybe they can come up, and maybe this is something we can, if there's not a federal, a funding source that we could get from the CLG's perspective, then maybe that's a CPC. I don't know, but I'm just kind of brainstorming of what we could think of, moving forward.
If nothing else, to Sarah's point, uh, can we reach out to the insurance company and to the town to see how the policy is written and what we can add to it?
Who holds the policy, what insurance? company?
Barrett.
They're, consolidated.
Yeah, consolidated.
Okay.
Holly, do you have a sense of who at the town it would be best to reach out to for more information?
Not really. I mean, I know Drew's been involved, but I don't know who else would be involved. I don't know if that's finance. I don't know if that's town administration. I have no idea.
Usually insurance would be under finance.
Finance.
Like,
I mean, it may be as simple as adding a rider to the policy that's a historic,
Right.
you know, structures rider, and whether it covers the cemetery, whether it covers monuments, it covers anything that's just sort of like even if it's just a small paragraph of like, these are the requirements that we would need you to follow. And obviously not try and make them very arduous so that they would be followed, but at least it would hopefully give somebody some oversight on this end of it. Where someone have to pick up the phone and call and say, okay, you know, this is what we want to do, and you say, okay, these are the people that we'd like you to talk to, or who's involved, or, you know, something like that, so it sparks that conversation.
We can't
Yeah.
be the only community with this issue, really and truly.
No, but I can tell you that there are fewer and fewer insurance companies that are willing to insure anything that of a historic value. Like I see it all the time on the forums in terms of historic houses that are getting bumped by insurance, big insurance companies. They're just like, we don't want to insure you anymore. Nothing wrong with the house, everything could be fine, and they just don't want the liability. So I think that that is shrinking more and more. And so it just, you know, the town probably doesn't necessarily want to open that up, because it's just one more thing that the insurance company could turn around and go, yeah, we don't want to do that. Or we're gonna charge you a small fortune to have that rider in there.
On the house that's gonna ask you, they don't wanna insure them at all, or they just want to
No, they don't want to
have the
insure
right
them
to
at all.
just replace it with completely modern stuff.
No, no, well, both, but a lot of the ones that I'm seeing literally say, my insurance company of 25 years will not reinsure me. You know, everything's fine, and they've just decided they're not doing it anymore. And so it's happening a lot more frequently.
It's been a couple of years since I was really aware specifically about the insurance companies, but I know with the UU Church. It was getting harder and harder to find insurance. And we found new and affordable insurance through a group that focuses on historic churches and offered a better service. I wonder if they do more than churches.
Well, I think the bottom line is, it can't hurt for us to at least ask these questions
Right.
and try and at least get some answers. Because at the very
Yeah.
least, we could be stuck in the same situation where it's kind of like our hands are tied, we can't do anything.
Right.
But we might be able to like pursue a different policy that might be better
Yeah.
serves for us, or we might have more say over who is chosen or something. So I
Yeah.
think we should at least ask.
Mhm.
For sure. All right, so. Holly, maybe you and me together, or, you know, we could just try and reach out. Hope, I mean, I imagine the town would be receptive to at least discussing this further.
I would think so. I mean, we need to make it so it's clear that we're trying to be proactive
Yes.
because we foresee it happening. And we also, at the same time, want to protect our historic resources. So what can we do to help
Mhm.
the town?
The Meridian stones could be next, and have a little replica of their Meridian. stones.
Yes, and-
Something else.
And I mean, that's another thing that we discussed earlier this year, and the response at that point from Drew was that at least for the Fair Street Meridian Stone, they were going to reset the lally columns that are in, you know, on either side of it to protect it, and I don't believe that's happened yet. So I would love to know, when that might take place.
And then the idea that Angus came up with the one at the bank. And it sounded like that was something that, the BPAC, I can never remember that acronym that basically reviews things before it goes to select board on roads stuff. Where it seemed to be okay with it. And that was a meeting we had our transportation manager here too, Mike. So he seemed to not have too much of a concern with having that bump out to protect the meridian next to, the bank. So. Important stuff. And I mean, that's another reason why surveying these and having them on record and on file is also very important. For those that may not know, kind of get back to why that's important. When folks from outside of Nantucket does, like we just saw for the 106 review for the cell, they look at macros. Here is the site that I'm gonna propose to do. Here's my area of potential effect. They look at macros. Okay, we got these historic structures or historic resources. If there's no survey on file with macros, they think there's nothing. And I've time and time again, I've seen that. I'm like, you're incorrect. I can point out your other half of your circle is incomplete. There's the, you know, so again, another plug to why not only having obviously the island survey, but also town-owned historic resources. So. I side note. Yeah.
Okay, well, so we'll try and find out some information about the insurance policy about how it could be changed, updated to avoid this, something like this happening in the future. But next on the agenda, so on October 29th, NARA, the Association of Real Estate Brokers, will be having a training for selling historic properties and different architectural styles, which we, Holly, have, you know, participated in previously and will be doing it again this year. I was hoping to be able to be a part of it, but I'm going to be on vacation on the 29th. So if there's another commissioner who would like to
Be happy to go.
okay,
Yeah.
Sarah, Angus, either, both?
Are we supposed to present something or just be there?
No,
Present something.
so basically, this would be the opportunity for us to teach and give the required course that that the state requires the realtors to have. So NARAB has a licensed state official who actually emailed me this information, and I've worked with the last few years with her on this. We have, myself, I think Hillary when she was chair, and Mary from MPT. I think it's been maybe 3 years that we did it.
I did it.
And then you did it with us one year as well. That's usually 3 of us that will create a PowerPoint presentation, talk about the Nantucket history, educating realtors of what they need to know. So this is something that, I have a running list of things just from HCC experience of things that, you know, I just, you know, staff, we wish that realtors remind folks on. Anyway, I will say this, when the first time we did it, it was at the Nantucket Hotel. Lots of realtors came up to us afterwards and thanked us that it was one of the best education classes that they've ever had. I mean, they're required to have these continuing education credits. So, it's a great experience. We are able to take this required, syllabus, if you will, and tweak it for Nantucket. So I do have a PowerPoint presentation of what I've given in the past. I plan on updating that.
Yeah, I can send mine.
Okay, that'd be awesome. Mary has, in the past, and I don't know, I didn't reach out to her if she was being interested in from the architectural perspective. I think if you're wanting to be involved with it, that'd be awesome, especially from your personal experience. I think also if you were wanting to do that, that's up to you.
Mhm.
But I mean, the more of bringing it towards Nantucket and what we see people not, you know, there's this concept of, oh, well, you know, maximize, and I don't know, but that's not really in true to what Nantucket is. And I think from my side on it is, and what I see on a day-to-day basis is these historic resources being purchased, and then they say, oh, I want new windows. Not realizing, or I'm in a flood zone, I will need to elevate. FEMA tells me I need to be this, and not know that historic contributing structures are exempt under the substantial compliance section of the building code. So, but now we're also seeing a lot of structures, because of the stretch energy code. So again, there's a lot of learning and education component. Put that aside, there's issues with fences we've seen, right, at the HGC. We've seen color changes. I actually get phone calls from other historic districts in Massachusetts asking me what Nantucket does when it comes to somebody having say a Greek revival. And I have somebody that wants to change it this color and that color. Like, what does Nantucket do? Even owners from those properties contacting me directly. And then saying that, you know, my town puts Nantucket in high regard. What do you recommend? I mean, that's happening. For them to look at us, I'm like, oh, okay, here you go, and give them a little bit of education on that. I think is nice, but at the same time, you know, okay, well, wait a minute, what can we do for our own people here? And I think down the road from you, there was a house that had their sidewall shingles redone a couple years ago, and it was wrong type of white cedar shingles. They had the knots all over it, like that's, again, there's that stuff,
Well, that's
and
just cheaper.
cheaper, but
Do we outlaw that? The Carlisle house.
Not necessarily,
The cheap ones.
not necessarily, but I mean.
I will say the shingles were put on my house in 1946, had visible knots. And I know it was 1946 because when we reshingled, I saw where a deceased patient of mine had signed it on his birthday in 1946. And with the knots, they held up very well. Because after the war, they might have been a little short on building materials in 46.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's that combination, Nantucket profiles on windows. So there's all these different things, even just like we've talked about in the past, to build a Nantucket in mind, and those real. Recommendations of dormers and 3 feet off the edge and 1 foot off the ridge and just
Mhm.
because we're seeing. People not submitting things that are in compliance with building a Nantucket.
Also maintenance. I just saw the two houses at the base of Chester / Cliff Road or, Westchester. And so they're owned by the same person and someone came in and power washed all of the shingles. And literally I watched them with the power washer going up,
No.
breaking shingles off. And yeah, it was not good. Not good. And they've taken years off the
Mhm.
lifespan of those shingles.
Every time.
That's a good one to emphasize.
And they did it because they're both on the market right now, and so I'm sure they wanted to like
Make it look
refresh
pretty.
them, clean them up because they were gray and, but yeah, I mean, destroyed.
Who would want gray shingles?
Exactly. For me, it's the windows, and then just the interior stuff that gets thrown away all the time.
And
I don't have much
that
to-
would be, right, and that would become, I think, something to mention how, yes, the HDC might not have jurisdiction over that, however, if you have a restriction on the property, which is what we
Mhm.
wanna see, or, again, I know not everybody likes them, but historic tax credits is one of the greatest things of being able to retain it. Interior character defining features, so I think all these different things, is really our opportunity to let them know.
Last thing, so I was able to go through the Easton Street house last week that
great.
we did the historic tax credits on most recently. And it's probably a very good example of being able to use the tax credits and modernizing and updating the interior. It's not my taste,
Right,
but from the standpoint of someone coming through and being able to, literally make everything sort of look modern on the inside, still use the credits. They've had to replace or repair, I should say, someone cracked the leaded glass windows in the front. So they had been, I met with the builder. And so they found a place that can restore them. So they're restoring, and that was the first thing he said to me. He's like, they're out, but we're restoring them. Which was funny, but again, they used very modern interior stuff. They didn't, rip things out necessarily. But from what seems to be happening, with people buying and stuff like that, that's sort of like the marriage of, a very different project from my house, but they did a really good job in terms of preserving the integrity of the structure.
you hit a nail on the head there because people don't realize they get fixated on. Oh, well, I have to preserve everything. No, because you're following the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation.
Right.
Rehabilitation allows you to modernize certain things as long as you're retaining those character defining features.
Yep.
Both on the interior, exterior, but there were some things on the interior, I remember when we were going through the review process that MHC was like, no, you need to keep that there. So again, that's a good point to emphasize that you don't necessarily look at, oh, I gotta preserve everything in
Mhm.
situ. Well, not necessarily. So,
Mhm.
and then obviously working with architectural historians who know the tax credit process. I know the architect who actually sits on the HDC for that project, and he even said, he was like, this is awesome to be able to do this. So getting that, I think, that education component to people for them to realize that it's a little work, but at the same time, it's worth it.
I think one of the biggest things to convey, and it probably wasn't the last narrow thing, but this time it would definitely be about managing expectations, about the changes with a building, knowing that you can't just double the size of the building, especially when it's in the poor district or if it's a historic resource within a period of significance. I was just blown away by the recent approval of the Center Street application that basically was a demolition of what could have been built 1846 in the core of our historic district. And so it was like buying a building, and you would never imagine that they would be allowed to basically demolish it. And
Which building is this?
it's across from the post office.
You mean on Federal Street?
Yeah.
No, oh, okay, on Federal, okay.
I mean, first floor, second floor, roof, walls, all are getting replaced.
Wow.
Were you talking about the place that used to be the Nantucket Crisp thing?
No.
Oh, another
No.
one?
Ooh, the Artists Association.
Anyway, I think it's good to let the realtors know, to let the owners know, or the, prospective buyers. These things need to be protected.
I just want to say, I'd be happy to attend this. I don't feel like I'm in a position to be a presenter, but I would. Might move me.
I feel the same way. I'm
Other
happy to
year.
go and be supportive.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And where is it? When is it?
We only right now have the date of October 29th. I don't know where the location is. It's varied locations on island. But we'll find out more.
Okay.
How many people are there? Do you expect them?
When we did it, it was like. 30 maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
There is
I don't know
a-
how
there is
many.
A big, relatively big room at Sugar Commons.
They did it,
That is true.
they've done it, where you say the Nantucket Hotel, they've done it at Fairground.
I don't know where else they've had it though.
The Nantucket Inn is trying very hard to really
yeah.
participate and become a good citizen for year-round people. They would be more than happy to have it, though.
That'd be good, cause also like, that's an easier location.
Yeah. Parking and.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that this would be, just so you're aware, this is, our section is just a portion of what they're learning. We're either gonna be in the morning of their classes or in the afternoon. That hasn't been set out yet. Yeah, cause there's other things that they learn about, but. So it should be good. I'm happy to, hear them wanting us back.
well, you should know by our next meeting more details, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Yep, I was asked in an email that, for a presentation that our PowerPoints are sent to them a week before, so.
Great. All right, and so that brings us to our commission goals, which the document from last meeting was in the packet. And one of those goals I know was to contribute to a narrative training, so we are doing that. So in terms of our MHV grant surveys, we can update that to say we've signed the contract with the state and are in the final stages of hopefully getting that RFQ posted.
The top one or the bottom?
I guess the bottom one.
Do we have
Or the
anything for the
second.
top one?
I think, well, the fish lots are essentially closed,
Yep.
they're closed out at
Those
the
are
point.
done.
No,
You want me to
those
remove
are-
that?
I think we can.
Yeah, I
remove
can
that.
remove it.
Yeah.
Alright.
We could,
We have on there,
CPC? And PIN,
So,
that one on here? No,
yeah, you say the agreement signed, right?
yes, the contract has been signed and we are awaiting, posting the RFQ.
we could change that into, the CPC. The fact that we've applied for continuing survey efforts with PIN for the West Monomoy
For the West Monomoy Circuit.
Phase 2, which will come up with about 250 surveys, which would be nice.
Wait, which one?
I think, Holly's saying you could add a line for the
Oh.
EPC funded survey, sorry.
Yeah,
Probably.
so
Hold on.
phase one, I believe, should be wrapping up soon. But I mean, these are ongoing projects, so. The
Yeah.
next phase.
Okay, and then in terms of these goals, Meridian Stones, as we mentioned, we're, hopefully we'll get an update on when that Fair Street work will be done. Okay, sewer force main, I know there's gonna be a lot more work, this off season.
Yes, I only know right now about their repaving of where they opened up on Pine Street. The Pine Street, yeah.
Yeah,
Um, check out the cobblestones if you haven't seen on Winter Street. Awesome. But they're gonna be paving next month, that section. I don't know what that means for the next phases. So,
okay,
They are repairing the Belton blocks on North Water Street, out of the part where the cars actually drive as compared to where they park. It's been really dished down and they are belaying them.
Oh,
good.
that's great. Okay, so I feel like at this point we could maybe remove the line about MPS funding.
yeah,
Just because
Yeah,
honestly, I highly doubt there will be,
there's not gonna be an NPS.
yeah.
Let's be honest. It's gonna go on.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I hate to be fatal.
No,
but I just feel
it's
the
true.
way this-
And I think on that note, anybody who's not a member of Preservation Action, become a member.
Oh,
And you'll
yeah.
get little stickers in the mail from them. These are
Not
preservationists.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Um,
preservation action, yeah.
Preservation Action, they basically are the lobbyists, the nonprofit lobbyist has been pushing and hopefully.
What is NPS?
National Park Service, sorry.
It's not Nantucket.
No.
No.
Sorry.
When
Yeah,
we're talking,
too
yeah,
many.
sorry, when we're talking about MPS, we mean the National Park Service, but like I said, theoretically, I don't know, if you round thinking. Certainly not gonna have any money.
Yes. So I think most, everything else here is still,
I would just, I think I'm gonna update the section 106 review just to include the one we just did.
Yep.
The
Mhm. Yep.
review for the antenna. Children.
and I think for the education line about building with Nantucket in mind, you could include that, CPC funds were applied for, updating.
And we will be at some point, whenever the consultants submit it, my understanding, there's the Walwinet, bike path and the Tom Nevers one is, they're in process. And a consultant for one of them, I can't remember, reached out to me, basically. What, they have to submit a project notification form to MHC, and that gets the ball rolling for
For
you.
the section 106 review process.
So that will be forthcoming at some point.
When the CPC funds were due, the applications were due.
Last Friday,
Okay, that's what I thought, but,
I submitted 4.
okay. So, in the bike,
And this about tax credits, we only had 2 reoccurring ones that we reviewed. Really wasn't a lot this year.
Yeah.
So,
So, I mean, maybe in terms of like 89 Easton Street, I don't know. Do you think they would be interested in having more people come through or to just talk about?
I don't know. So I know the owner and he
Mhm.
spoke to me before he applied for the tax credits because he had heard that I had gone through the process. He's lovely. They're in Ireland at the moment. I don't know when they'll be back. My guess is he would probably not be open necessarily to a
Okay.
bunch of people traipsing through the brand new house.
right,
Yeah.
But I don't know, who knows?
Mhm.
It would be interesting. And I'm not sure I'm the right person to talk about it, but the historic tax credit process for
Yes.
buyers.
Yeah.
Might be a very interesting thing. I mean, I look at what they did there and the approvals that they got, and then I look at what I did on mine and being shot down, and it's,
yeah.
very disconcerting from the standpoint of, you know, the different projects and how that went through. And I think part of it is there's so much more used to the 89 Easton type of project that, you know, when we were saying, oh no, everything's, you know, in kind and being replaced and restored, and they just weren't as familiar with that. So I don't know,
Why did you get turned down?
because they didn't like the fact that the house itself, so that the rear section of the house was falling off. There was 17-inch difference between the front and the back, and it was not safe. And we documented everything, but we took it down before getting approval to take it down. And they said, we're not sure, and submit again. And it was a 168-page, you know, report. And I had Brian Madden do it, and they were great. And then even after doing that, they asked for more information, and we're like, so at what point do we continue to go through this I mean, I spent $35,000 on the application process. So, and figured that it would be a perfect example of how to get historic tax credits to restore a historic property in town and literally save everything that I could. And they were like, yeah, we don't know. And I think part of it is there was a change. The person that was reviewing was very new. And so I don't think they really understood sort of the nuance of, you know, to the letter versus in, you know, like yeah, in the intent. And so maybe that was part of it. You know, I don't know, but it's, you know, I look at Milk Street and I'm like, so anyway. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still happy I did it, whether I got credit for it or not, but
Well, you still deserve the credit, so we'll give you the credit.
yes, I'll pat myself on the back.
Holly, I think isn't there an NAPC training coming up?
There is another one, yes. I don't remember, there was an email recently. that-
Yeah, that's what I,
Yeah.
And I think I registered for it, but I can't remember when.
And
it
then
is.
there was the one that, our former MHC CLG coordinator, who left the state, is actually with Barrett Consulting, who's working on the town's master plan, as a preservation planner, which is awesome for us. She is the one that is doing a, webinar that I had sent out to you all on, which is coming up.
I think it's the 29th.
I think so, yes, thank you.
29th, the same day as the.
no,
No,
September 29th.
Oh, September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And the NAPC training is Thursday, September 25th at 1 on historic context studies.
September 23rd.
Context.
In the last training session, I thought it was a little humorous that one of the persons, I forget which jurisdiction, they said, yeah, when we relaxed the how we were enforcing everything, the applicants were very pleased. I thought, well,
Well, I
okay,
guess so.
all right.
And I guess on that note too, anybody does training, let me know, because I try to indicate that within our report and say, you know, these are the different trainings that we're going in.
Same. Great. Well,
Wait, what's on the 29th?
the 29th, that's a presentation by Jen. Right, that's,
The 29th, yes.
yeah, Jen Doherty's presentation for Barrett Planning.
Okay, that's it, that's there.
Yes, free webinar, developing a strong local preservation program, September 29th.
I'm just putting that in.
Okay, and that is it.
Admin.
And then, I also wanted to mention the one, what is it? One of the bottom. Oh, so the NHA thing, so the last 2 years, the NHA has teamed up with, ICOMOS and ICOMOS? ACROM, thank you,
Yeah.
sorry, wrong acronym. ACROM. And they're gonna have another roundtable. And that's something that I actually just was asked to participate in from the local side to talk about Nantucket, but this is having to do with looking at, conservation of historic structures, and they've been looking at, materials, how they fare in weather, and one in particular, they were down at Pacific Club, looking at the water levels down there. Anyway, Glenn and his team had, reached out. I think last year, myself, Mary, I think Matt Fee was there. I can't remember, there's somebody else, there's four of us. But I also know that they've all, the students that, or this, I think it's, gonna be students internationally again. But anyway, long story short, they're doing their third year of this. And looking forward to just helping out with that.
Do we know the date?
That's in October.
Okay.
Yes. Um, they had them at the Greater Lake, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
And last year I attended the sort of final presentation from the professionals who were here, and it was interesting, really interesting to hear their different perspectives from, their experiences working in the cultural heritage field all around the world. So I think it's great that it's happening again, and great that you're presenting and involved.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
It really was a diverse group of people. I mean, it's like really all over the.
All over the
I don't know, every nation, not every nation, but every continent was represented.
Yeah.
Represented last year. They've asked it again for me to present this year. So
Wonderful.
I know they've also been taken to a couple locations on the island, like seeing what's happening out in Bax. And that kind of thing too. So they're also getting that, the natural resources component as well, looking at them, but. Good idea. I think there was one other thing too.
Oh.
Sarah.
So it's kind of a general thing, but the company that I have worked with on the linseed oil paint that comes from England, Bruns, he's actually coming to the island, and he had worked with me to replicate the Nantucket historic colors in their paint. And so we've been chatting for the last year and a half, and he wanted to get involved with Nantucket by Design because I suggested that the best way to educate the people, he's gonna have to have buy-in from the architects and people that are speccing and the homeowners in order to sort of force you gotta use the linseed oil paint on the outside. But this is the company that does all of the preservation work down in Mount Vernon, which is how I found them. They do, the castles in Sweden they all over the world.
What's the name of the company?
It's called Bruns and Company, Brouns. And they now can distribute from the US, which is very helpful because I used to have to get it from England. But anyway, the linseed oil paint, especially on historic structures, is so much healthier for the wood in terms of like keeping it healthy. And they've got, many hundreds of years of experience in terms of the types of climate here that we have overseas. And so anyway, I don't know, I'm just starting to talk to him. It's like, I'm gonna say the 8th and 9th of November, he and his partner are gonna be here on the island. And so I'll probably sort of try to put together something where he can meet with people and try and figure out a plan. They're definitely coming back for Design Week next summer. And so maybe try and get him on a panel, but just in front of people to educate them as well.
it'd be great to get local painting companies to
I
show
know.
up for that, so
I
that
know.
they can advocate for it.
It's really, and that's the
Maybe
biggest
we could
thing.
Organize
Mhm.
some sort of forum or something and trying to get.
Yeah.
Because it's a quieter time, so it might be, not
Right.
people are around, but.
Well, and if they can, if the local paint, because it's a different, I don't want to say it's a different process, but it is. It's not, you're not putting like heavy paint like you would normally put on. And so there's a little bit of a learning curve. It's not hard, but it's just something that's different. And so the painting companies, I would say there's probably, maybe there's 10 or 15 of the painting companies that probably deal with more of the historic structures on the island. And I would say, yeah, they would probably be the best to reach out to and see.
Think about
what they
that.
do.
Yeah, hosting workshops.
Yeah. And I don't know if the workshop makes we don't have a lot of time to plan for November now, but for next summer or next fall, like getting it in the works. You know, this is the first time that he's coming to the island, so I think it's sort of like starting it. So,
Well, maybe what we could do is, to your point, is probably not enough time to plan a workshop, but at least do like an informal, like, get to know them, like, at
Yeah.
least, like, meet
Yeah.
and greet.
Yeah.
And so people can at least be like, oh, what company is it? Oh, what do you guys do? And so we
Right.
can just have like very basic info
Mhm.
about them, and then we can
yeah,
kind of follow up and be like, hey, they're gonna be here.
Yeah.
So we can learn more about them at Design Week, and we're gonna
Right.
plan a workshop for next year, but
yeah,
we could tee up something like that, maybe.
right, yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. I think the 8th and 9th of November, they're coming here. Yeah,
I think, too, if the colors, you know, have a muted look or a different look than your typical Benjamin Moore
Mhm.
Quaker gray, that's, the HDC should get involved.
So what I did is I sent him the card and I went through his card and basically said, okay, these are the closest colors that match. And they went through and tweaked their formulas to match our historic colors. So he's coming with that card so that basically they can say, these are the colors, they're the same colors, they've already been approved, because I talked to him about the process of trying to approve another color, which I didn't want him to have to go through. And so it's definitely a better I shouldn't say better. It's a different option than doing like a fine paints of Europe on your door. Or wrapping something in, you know, a lot of people aren't using oil-based paint anymore. And so it's just different. It's breathable. It's no VOCs. It's much easier to use in that regard. So,
Great.
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
Very cool.
I do have something else too.
Ooh.
So, not, well, a while ago, earlier this year, Glenn Bornasian reached out to me. He's been working with the Beinecke family. And, I don't know if you all know that there is a plaque, down on this.
I saw it,
Bless
I
you.
saw it the other day and I thought about it and I was like, when are we replacing?
Yes, so, they are replacing the plaque. It went through our sign advisory council, it went through, you all looked at it, and it went through HDC. And there's going to be a celebration, the weekend of October 11th. I'm still, trying to find out the details of that, but, there's going to be a public component of it. It's also to correlate with the Congregational Church's 300th anniversary, because within that plaque, when we saw the steeple. So there might be a public, celebration actually at the church. But again, these are details that are kind of ironing out, but I did speak to Glenn yesterday. That it's in the works, so he'll keep me posted and I'll let you all know. The town is aware, but not obviously any of the nitty gritties yet, because it's not really lined out, but. It should be great, you know, to have a rededication to Mr. Beinecke, so looking forward to that. Well, yes.
As that comes along and everything sort of firms up, please send us a,
Absolutely.
Yeah. That was cool.
Really cool.
And then another sort of other business item is just, I would put out a plug for, Nantucket Preservation Trust. Our preservation awards are next Thursday, the 25th at 5 o'clock at Sherburne Hall. So if you got, well, so I'll be there, you'll be there. But, and I know, yeah, so if
What day is
you'd like to come.
Thursday.
Angus. You're the chair of the committee. I hope you can all join us. It'll be fun.
Very set with the event list. Yes.
Yeah. And so, I guess we took other business out of order a little bit, but is there any other business?
That's the 20th.
The 25th, yeah, Thursday. 25th. Okay.
Do the meeting, we didn't.
Yes, so that, will be our last thing. Did everyone have a chance to look those over? Did any edits? or-
they haven't changed since you wrote them right after the meeting.
Correct.
That's what I look at. Oh,
Yes.
That's why I try to send them out. It's on your mind. That way, if you think, oh, I forgot something or whatever, you tell me when to remember it.
I applaud your minute taking.
Yes. Yeah. All right, so, do we have a motion to approve those, the minutes of our September meeting and the CLG meeting?
so moved.
Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, wow. No roll,
Yay.
love it. Okay, so, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye. do I have to write everyone's names or do I just say it's unanimous?
I think you can.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, everybody.
So I have a question maybe for you, and